Hi guys, and welcome back to Christina at Home. This is my channel where I will be sharing with you guys my renovation journey for my 1930s bungalow and also UK property tips for first-time buyers and those that want to get into managing their own property portfolio. So before I go any further, please do make sure that you do your own research. This is a little disclaimer. Make sure you do your own research when it comes to hiring an architect, hiring a builder, surveyors, party wall agreements. This is my personal journey that I'm sharing with you of what we experienced, but I'm by no means an expert, so please do seek expert advice if you want to find out more. If you're planning a UK home extension and you're finding it very difficult to know where to start, I would always suggest starting with your why, and this really worked for us. Understanding why is it that you want to renovate or extend, and making sure you note everything that you think is important to you down, whether it be having an open plan living space for more socializing or being able to watch your kids. Note all of these down, and the reason why I say this is because I know from experience that as a renovation goes on, unexpected expenses may come up, or there might be guidelines or regulations which you must adhere to, which may prevent you from doing a bigger build or having a certain window in certain places. So do remember your why, so you can make sure that you stick to your budget or stick to your plan, and you focus on the areas that are important to you, just in case you might have to give up a little bit of your budget elsewhere. Hire an architect and bring them in to look at your property and to give you ideas as well, and obviously for you to share your vision and what you're trying to achieve with the build. It's an integral part of the process, and finding a good architect can take a bit of time, and I ended up interviewing 7 architects before I settled on my final architect. And the reason being is that I was a complete novice as to what role an architect plays in part of the build, and what I needed in terms of making my extension happen. So with an architect, obviously that they draw up plans, and they usually have in-house civil engineers as well who are able to do technical drawings. Now, we made a big mistake of going out looking for quotes from builders first, and a lot of builders came back to us saying that in order to give us an accurate quote, they need technical drawings. The prices ranged enormously from some architects charging 1,600 to some charging 15,000. So we finally settled on an architect that was able to provide us with like a kind of all-inclusive package, so everything that we needed in order to make the build happen. So they also, the reason why we chose them as well, I'll just go through quickly, is they did their research in our local area and found out about the planning permission that was taking place in all of our neighbours' houses, and they were able to share with us which they thought were going to be declined, which they thought they were going to pass, which was really impressive for us personally, because that's not what any of the other architects did. And also they were able to give us a bit more of ideas as well as what we could do in order to gain more space, because at first we were going to do a 3-metre rear extension, and they explained to us that even though it's 3 metres, you won't exactly be using the whole 3 metres, because the external and internal cavity of the walls will take up a bit more of that space. So that's why I went for a 6-metre extension, and just generally give us more ideas as to how we can maximize the space in a house. Like, for example, we've got a chimney wall in this room. I'm sitting in our current living room, and we can take that out in order to maximize the space. So little things like that was really helpful. They were also very very clear in terms of the process that we needed to follow. So they helped us to draw up agreements for a surveyor. They helped us to get a building regulation. So they were really good. So I will try and dig out their details and link it at the bottom of this video. If any of you are UK based in the southeast area and you're looking for a local architect, I can highly recommend them. So planning permission, I was really kind of naive in terms of figuring out how long planning permission will take and what it all entails. So I was again really blessed for us to have this architect, because they really held our hands throughout the whole process regarding the planning permission. we had to still apply even though it was under permitted development. Not sure why, but yeah, that's the rules anyway. So we still went to submit our planning permission, and basically that took 8 to 10 weeks. So in the meantime, we decided to fill up our summer with doing some garden clearing. So we're kind of making space for what will now be our new outbuilding that will be going outside, and we'll obviously outside, well, our external building, which will be at the bottom of our garden. So we started to do some clearance for that, and then we had to between my boundary and my neighbour's boundary, we had a tree that was falling, which was considered a weed tree. So we had to get that removed as well, and that involved cutting that down. The cost to actually cut that down, we had to get a license to cut it down, and we also had to make sure that we get reputable tree surgeons to make sure that it's all done properly. So that set us back, between myself and our neighbour, £3,200, and we halved that, so we were paying £1,600 to get that done. So we were already spending money on this project before we even can lay down a single brick. Bring it, put it down, put it down. So talking party wall agreement. So a party wall agreement is basically has to be signed by both neighbours before you can commence any work, and you have to give your neighbours at least 2 months notice. So if you're doing any work, I think is within 3 meters of your neighbour's house, or excavation work, and you're sharing a boundary wall, a garden fence, or a line of junction, you have to get a party wall agreement signed. And there's several different types of party wall agreements, and you have to check with your surveyor or your architect as to which party wall agreement needs to be signed. Luckily for us, our architect was able to step in again for us and help with this process. They appointed a surveyor who was able to help us draw up contracts. These contracts were then given to both neighbours on both sides, and they were able to sign, because we get on with our neighbours, luckily, and they were able to sign that, so there was no issues there. I do know disputes can arise, and that can cause problems, and if they do, that again is money out of your pocket, because you will have to appoint a surveyor, which could cost sometimes several £1,000s if your neighbour also wants to appoint a separate surveyor. Hiring a builder or contractor can be quite scary for most people, especially when taking on a major renovation project. As I said before, I used mybuilder.com to hire tradesmen such as electricians, plumbers, because obviously I am a landlord and I'm managing properties, so I usually need to call out tradesmen from time to time, and mybuilder.com works quite well for me, because usually they have reviews and feedback, and if anyone has over 90% feedback and has at least 20 to 30 reviews, I usually hire them. And because they're quite local, the price is quite good value for money. However, for a major renovation project, it may not be necessarily the route you want to go down. So what we did was, I took matters into my own hands, and I just wanted to actually speak to clients rather than read testimonials, and also I wanted to see a portfolio, at least 2 to 3 properties of my potential builders' work, so that I can see what they've done, if the previous clients have been happy, and that will probably fill me with the confidence that they can do a major renovation on my home. Drove around looking at houses that had been recently renovated or updated from the outside, or had a skip out the outside but had a beautifully renovated house, from like new windows, new doors, new rendering on the bricks and so forth. And I basically posted a note through the letterbox asking them for the builder's contact details, if they were happy with the process and the experience and how everything has turned out, if they can please share their builder's contact details with me. And I left my telephone number and email at the bottom of the notes. And I did that about 19 times in the area. Like when I was taking the kids to the park, I'll just drive around and drop a note through complete stranger's door and ask them if their builder was a good builder, and if so, can they recommend them. So I got about 4 out of 19 replies back. And following up from that, I even got calls from some of the homeowners, you know, asking me to pursue the builders, that they were really good and really happy with the standard of work, and they know from experience how hard it is to find a builder. So if you are in a certain area and you want to do a major renovation, I will strongly recommend maybe writing a little note and posting it through letterboxes of houses in your area where you feel that renovation has recently been done and they've got beautiful rendering work, and you know, the windows are really well done, because you never know, you might come across a really good builder through that way. But yeah, for us personally, we managed to get at least 4 replies. We interviewed them, we got quotes from them, and as just to reiterate, if I haven't said it before, it's very important that you get technical drawings where a civil engineer has calculated your steel beams, and you know that your architectural drawings have sizes, numbers, the lot. Before you can get a quote from a builder, you must be able to have these technical drawings. I cannot stress this enough. Make sure you get those done. But yeah, back to what I was saying. We eventually ended up hiring our next door neighbor, who we share a boundary wall with, because he has his own building company, and he had also applied, we didn't know, but he also applied in the same year as us for planning permission to do a rear extension and a loft conversion as well. So what are the chances of that? I don't know. So we were lucky enough that he's already had experience doing major renovation work in central London, and has had clients, and he was able to show us like the work that he's done and invite us to clients' houses. And so we were really lucky to have him, and he is really lucky to have us as well, I guess, because we both get to save on the build costs, such as bringing in machinery, excavation, etc, etc. So it's funny how things work out. But we ended up going neighbour. We did, just to clarify, we did draw up contracts. Even though we're neighbours, we need to protect ourselves legally and financially. So we did draw up contracts and agreed on timelines and so forth. Obviously there will be delays and you know, things that may come up, but we definitely I would recommend, if you are going to do anything with your neighbour, if your neighbour is a builder and he's doing works on your home, make sure you still do your due diligence on them as we did, and draw up contracts so you're both protected. The final thing I'm going to talk about is timelines and costs. So before we even started laying down our single brick of concrete, we had spent £5,000 on the planning process, and that's basically from paying the architect, which we were charged about £1,800, and then we had to pay our council fees for the submission of planning permission, and we had to do that twice because we actually changed the size of our outbuilding. We made it bigger, so we had to resubmit planning permission for that, and we had to pay 2 fees. So I think in total all the planning fees that we paid towards the council totaled about £500. But please check with your own local council to find out what's their planning fees. It varies from council to council. So we also had to pay for building control. So building control can either come from the council or you can hire them privately. We went private, and it cost us £1,050 and plus VAT on top of that. So as well, I don't know if I mentioned, but apart from the architect drawings are separate, but we had to also bring in a civil engineer to help with the calculations, and which architect helped to, again, they had their own in-house one, but this had to be charged separately, and that cost us about £500 again to get that sorted out. So again, this is all the planning costs, just so you know. So just to finish on that, so timelines, I think for us, from when we started planning in beginning of summer 2020, we didn't actually start the build until autumn 2020. So it took about Took us about 3 months. This all takes time, and during Corona this was very difficult to achieve as well, because you know, we were in and out of lockdown. Rules were changing, so some people were allowed in our garden, some people we had to do video calls with. So please do bear all of this in mind as you are planning your build, because it's not as easy as saying that you want to do it straight away. So if you're planning a home extension and you don't know where to start, I hope this video has shed some light on the planning process of what needs to happen before you can lay down a brick, and roughly how much things may cost. So thank you so much guys for tuning in to my second YouTube video and encouraging me to upload more. So if you did enjoy this one, please like, comment or subscribe, and share with me your renovation journey. How much did pre-planning cost you, and was it as difficult for you as it was for me, or did you not have to do or spend as much as I did? But in the meantime guys, have a great day and see you soon.